Hello, this is Jennifer Sertle from Studio A3R. Very delighted to share with you for the past few months I've been teaching Exploring Innovation at Rochester Institute of Technology. And I wanted my students to actually have an experience of running a podcast. So for the next few programs, you're actually going to hear students talk about innovators that have inspired them regarding some work that they plan to be doing in the future. And I really hope that you enjoy the program. Thank you.
I want to welcome our first guest, or I guess our only guest. His name is Ben Garvey. He's a student at RIT's School of Individualized Study. He's an entrepreneur, and he's the founder of Great Lakes Gaming, an esports brand. How are you, Ben?
Good. How are you, Ryan? Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Yeah, it's a wonder to have you on today. You want to introduce yourself? Anything that I missed? Anything you feel is pertinent?
I mean, no, you got it right off the rip.
All right, good to hear. Good to hear. So I want to talk about GLG, your brand, sort of what you've been working on for more than the past year. When you started to develop the GLG brand, what really inspired you? What was sort of your drive, and what kind of opportunities did you see?
Yeah. So when I first started GLG, it was So I was in the RIT sports program, you know that, being the manager for the Call of Duty team. And I realized, as we're playing from our dorm rooms and whatnot, we didn't play as good. But when we would go to a computer lab and play together, we played better. There was better team chemistry. And, you felt more like a team when you were together in person. And not to say, play from your dorm rooms is bad by any means, but, there's something different. And so I was like, this might be an opportunity here to do something, because there's nothing like that, or there wasn't anything like that here in Rochester before. So that's what started me on, wanting to do GLG seriously. But then for the branding, what was the question about that?
What was your main inspiration in sort of developing the branding? And because you had the drive of developing a space and like a community kind of thing. But
yeah, so I have been a golfer my entire life, and then I've worked at several country clubs. I've been a member at one, and I just really enjoyed that feel of being a member somewhere and playing a sport that you could relate to with others. And it was a sport that you could literally play with anyone and everyone. It wasn't team based. I mean, I know esports is, but whatever, right? You could pick up and play with someone new every day, and it doesn't really matter. And I really like that overall vibe that you would have going to a country club. And I wanted to replicate that into esports. I don't see anything like that in the gaming scene. And I felt, having more of an exclusive membership styled setting where people could really feel like they belong, was something that was needed to be done. I mean, you have the online gaming clans and groups all over the place now, right? And I mean, I've been in them since I was 10 years old, but I feel like there's something missing, right? Whereas like the legitimacy and the professionalism of that right now in the gaming scene. Right now, it's just a bunch of hodgepodge, like mashing up of communities, right? Someone will join you for 2 weeks and then leave for another one or whatever. It's So yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So when you started to develop the initial idea, and sort of now how it's operating, is that close at all, or is it really changed? And has your vision changed along with that?
So when I first started GLG, I had no clue how I was going to run, like, from the staff side, if that's what you're getting at, like, the structure and whatnot. I didn't know. I mean, I was a sophomore in college, totally naive to everything. Now, I mean, like the basic principles that I wanted to install, like, from the beginning, I've been able to do that. and I think the rest of the staff team. I mean, you being a part of it, I'm sure you've seen it, right? A place for anyone and everyone to get their feet into the door of gaming and esports, talent, and then bring up those people to be the most talented that they possibly could be. If you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. Learn from it. Ask others for help, and yeah, if that's what you're going for,
and I think another important question to ask is COVID, and it's drastically changed how everybody has run their lives, but also has drastically changed esports, especially the visibility of esports and the legitimacy of it. How do you think that has affected GLG as a brand, and as sort of especially since you say developing tournaments and membership and trying to get more and more people in? How do you think that's affected GLG?
Well, we launched 2 in-person events right before the pandemic, came to the U.S. And my original goal for GLG was to do in-person events. I had no clue about online events. I wasn't really thinking of it. And then the pandemic hit, and I'm like, oh my God, just as I started, this is happening? Like, are you kidding me? But honestly, the pandemic was probably the best thing that could have happened for GLG. I know that sounds terrible. Like, not that we want the pandemic to have happened, right? Like, no one wants it. It truly does suck. But forcing us to move to an online platform and just focus on that enabled us to reach so many more people, bring on so many more, not just like players, but staff members. We're able to work with people from Canada, all the way, working with people down in Florida, RIT alumni from Florida, right? Like, and working with people from the West Coast too. Like, all of us able to put on a show together from across North America. It's crazy, like. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, like, I'm sure it would have happened here and there, right? Like, it was bound to happen anyway, but it really forced us to do that right away. And you were there from the very beginning, Ryan, right? The very first event we ran was 8 teams, and most of them were friends that we knew personally that we tried to get in. Yeah. And I mean, like, a year later, how the different types of players that we've had, the staff members that we have, it's crazy, right? Like,
so it's sort of like, I guess, accidentally shaped GLG into what it is today. That's awesome. So currently, GLG as it stands, very successful, running tournaments with 80 plus teams signing up for them, hundreds of hours streamed over the past year, thousands of different viewers tuning into the streams. Where do you think, or like, what is your current process for, I guess, further improving and innovating GLG so it can grow?
Continuing to work with community members, different people across the scene, right? Whether they be coaches, managers, players who have like ideas. Our Twitter DMs are always open for people to reach out. Discord is there for us to like talk to people. And some of the ideas that people bring up, sure, they might be a little crazy and unrealistic, but there's always something there, right? And like, if it works out, it works out. I can't think of everything. Harry can't think of everything. All of us at GLG can't think of everything cool to do. So being able to work with the people that also participate in our events, and continuing to like work off of that, I think that's where we're going.
So sort of like a community-driven development and innovation.
Being open to it. Obviously, as a business, you want to have things locked down tight, right? You don't want to just start throwing money around, throwing time and resources everywhere and running things willy-nilly. But having like a channel open for your community members to express their ideas, because they are the ones living it too, right? From a different perspective, and it's important. to take that in and realize, like, they might be onto something, right? Like, they're the players, and they're the ones that are giving you, as for example, tournament organizer, their time to play in your events. You got to listen to them. You never know what might happen, right?
Mm-hmm. So would you say that sort of differentiates you from other organizations kind of doing the same thing, the ability to and the willingness to listen to that community feedback?
Absolutely. It's ridiculous the amount of time that all of us take to just reply to DMs. Occasionally, someone's DM might get lost, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel awful whenever I don't respond to someone. But it's something. It's one of those things that we were talking about earlier, right? Like some of those things I've been trying to instill into the what is it? Like the everything at GLG, right? Like I want everyone to kind of have this same sense of, make sure you listen to people, right? If someone reaches out to you and has a question, answer it. Or if you don't know it, pass it on to someone else that might, right? Mm-hmm. And so that ability to just talk to the community, respond as fast as you can, obviously without, if you're in class, don't focus on your class, right? Or something like, but I feel like our ability to just constantly be, available to our community, that's what separates us.
Mm. That's awesome. So as the sort of light at the end of the tunnel approaches for COVID, slowly approaches, it seems like we've been approaching it for the past year. How do you feel like this will affect what GLG is doing? Will you continue to do more of the same because you found success in it, or will you try to plant your roots back in the idea of in-person events? Like what's the vision going forward?
Well, I mean, if we were just to stop doing online tournaments, I think that would be a terrible idea. They're great, even if the pandemic wasn't happening, online tournaments were definitely the move. Or just online events, live streams, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So 100% continue with that, without a doubt. Expanding upon that, absolutely. But to bring up in person, it's happening. It's happening. So I know I haven't talked to you much about this because it's still in development, but GLG will be getting its first location. We'll be moving into downtown Rochester. We're working with the Galena Development Corporation to put the first GL Gaming Lounge on the 22nd floor at Innovation Square.
That's awesome.
It's the old Xerox tower, this big, dark, monolithic, just really scary looking building in downtown Rochester. But we're moving into there,
mm-hmm.
Right at the heart of Rochester. And it's going to be incredible. What they have going on at Innovation Square, what's happening around that area too, the Sibley Center, the Metropolitan, everything that's like happening right there in that center of Rochester, it's incredible. And to be able to be a part of that as a college student, just graduating this summer, and then to jump right into this stuff that's happening in the city of Rochester, oh man, I can't wait.
That's awesome. Now, I think this is one of, I guess, the harder question. I just wanted to throw you a bit of a curveball here for this last question. In 5 keywords or less, where do you think GLG is going to be in 5 years, or where do you see it going?
Oh, man. In 5 words? Like, how do I word this? Where do I see it going? I don't want to say anything cliche either,
If it's easy, you can just kind of go one by one and just sort of like throw a word out there and sort of.
Well, as the name implies, Great Lakes Gaming, expanding across the Great Lakes, right? There we go. Expanding across the Great Lakes. Yo, there we go. 5.
Perfect.
Boom. Yeah. Okay. There we go. That's where we're going with it.
Cool. Yeah, no, so would you like to sort of give us a sneak peek of sort of what you think is, what do you think that entails? Or I know it's kind of just one of those, just it's 5 words and
yeah.
But
So I can't predict what's going to happen in 5 years. I can kind of guess, sure. I don't even know what's going to happen next year. When I first started GLG, I didn't know there was going to be a pandemic. I was expecting to start GLG in a mall, like taking over old Macy's, right? Like those big places, and putting in a massive arena. What was I thinking? Like, that was a terrible idea. Okay, like maybe in the future, sure, but like right now, that would have been awful. So I don't know what's going to happen next year. But what I want to happen is to build up our presence here in Rochester. Continue what we're doing with our online and production capability. I mean, we're killing it as a bunch of college kids and people just putting in the work after work, right, just for fun. To change the esports scene. I want to expand upon that, and then start replicating that throughout the Great Lakes region. I've always been fascinated with this area of our world, and I feel like what we've done already with GLG, the improvements that we've made in the scene, what we've done to like help others. I want to just keep doing that and just keep. Yeah. Lost my train of thought, but yeah.
Yeah, just
keep doing it.
That sounds awesome. Well, I think that is all the questions that I have for you. It has been an honor having you here and having you as a guest. Everybody, Ben Garvey, founder of Great Lakes Gaming and RIT student.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.